I've had a I've had a rough month, to say the least. I'm unemployed, which isn't necessarily bad, but looking for a new job is bad, very bad. I time blocked my schedule to create structure in an otherwise amorphous day and week, but as I always tend to learn when I do this and try to time block, it always backfires and ends up making me feel even worse because I'm then failing at all of the things that I am trying to accomplish in the time block that I've set. It's not that I'm trying to force myself to do creative projects, look for a job, or any of the other things I put into my schedule. What I'm trying to do is create a healthy, repeatable pattern, a habit that doesn't break my brain. But again, as per usual, just a few weeks into the quote unquote time blocked routine, everything ends up falling apart. And well, my mental health is worse than when it started. And I'm starting to think that maybe, just maybe, it's because I'm trying to mirror the traditional 5-day work week. My name is Crumbine. I am a writer, filmmaker, creative storyteller. This is Emergency Creative, and I'll be honest with you, my life got considerably better once I switched to a 4-day work week, which really makes me wonder, why not 3 days? I'm gonna get a little philosophical on you and quote Seneca, the Stoic philosopher from ancient Rome. Yes, I did recently read his work on the shortness of life and wholly recommend that, as well as Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, to anyone. I recommend these to anyone interested in self-help, self-improvement, and philosophy. These are kind of the granddaddies of the genre that everything else tends to flow from. But the main thing that resonated with me when reading these texts was how perfectly these literal ancient humans were dealing with the exact same frustrations of life and existence that are, well, they're still very relevant today. On the ancient humans' point, Seneca lived from 4 BC to 65 AD, and he wrote, "How late is it to begin to live just when we must leave off? What a foolish forgetfulness of mortality to postpone wholesome plans to our 50th and 60th year, and to intend to begin life at a point to which few have attained." He also wrote, "Being busy is a sort of mental illness. People are so busy being busy that they have no time for the things that really matter. Even the most fortunate are slaves to their own success." Ouch! There is something profoundly comforting about how the sheer stupidity of the human condition hasn't really changed much in 2,000 years. And that alone is reason enough to explore these texts. But back to my own work week and time blocking fiasco. The one thing that I was consistently doing every morning of the work week that, well, it genuinely made me feel good was my 20-mile bike ride. Actually, I worked my way up to 20 miles, but But once I was there, I realized, hey, buddy, maybe biking 20 miles a day, 5 days a week with only 2 recovery days, it might be a little bit too much for these aging bones. And since biking had come to anchor my work week, if I was lopping a day off the routine, I figured I might as well do it for the rest of my schedule, lop that day off. So I switched from a 5-day work week to a 4-day work week. I now regularly have 3-day weekends where one whole day is spent sleeping and doing absolutely nothing, which is, by the way, incredibly refreshing, and I highly recommend it, if for no other reason than it genuinely acts as a motivator to pursue proper leisure during the remaining 2 days of the weekend. This shift in the balance of my week hasn't been some kind of magic bullet by any means, but it has helped. And as bad as last month was, well, this month has been better. Yes, I overstuffed my time blocked schedule in the first place, setting myself up for failure. But there were still key pillars, like that 20-mile bike ride, that helped shape some helpful mental guardrails. And between those pillars of routine and rebalancing my work week, I find that my brain has been well, a little bit more malleable. I'm able to bounce back from depression a little easier. And there's been a better, stronger weekly framework to hang the rest of my ambitions on. So if switching to a 4-day work week has demonstrated such promise, I sure do wonder how a 3-day work week would treat me. Watch out now! I'll wrap up with this final quote from Seneca. We must indulge the mind, and from time to time allow it the leisure which is its food and strength. We must be indulgent to the mind and give it the kind of leisure that serves as nourishment and a restorative. Let me know in the comments what your ideal work week is, and until next time, stay creative, friends.